Donald Trump sparking another controversy this week, and rightly so, when suggesting that veterans who struggle with post-traumatic stress are not strong. This isn't about malice. It's not about being insulting. It's just wrong, and it plays to an ignorance that should be condemned. And it has been by many, including our next guest, Stephanie Keegan. Her son served for us and died this January after struggling with PTSD. She wrote the cover story for the New York Daily News yesterday, stressing, quote, "My son was not weak." Joining her this morning is the research director for Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans for America, the IAVA, Jackie Maffucci. Thank you to both of you for being with us this morning. I am sorry for your loss, Ms. Keegan, and I believe an entire family of a service member serves. And we thank you for the service of your family. I read your piece. I get why you were angry about this, and I get that you're not angry at Trump for taking a shot at veterans, that's not what you believe this is about. What is it about?
I'm really frustrated that somebody who doesn't understand what PTSD really is thinks they have a voice to speak on the subject. To say that somebody who comes back and fine from war is strong indicates that you think that somebody who comes back and asks for help is not strong. My son was a very strong young man who devoted his life to serving this country very honorably, and he deserves more respect and understanding for the situation that he was going through.
What do people need to understand about the additional difficulty of dealing with post-traumatic stress, the stigma, the concern of shame, and how you have to battle that to come forward and acknowledge this?
Well, that's exactly the question here. My son served, after his deployments, he served for several years, and he struggled very desperately with the PTSD situation, but he didn't want to tell anybody because he was afraid he would be asked to leave the service. He wanted to stay in the service for the duration, for the rest of his life. He wanted to be a soldier, and it finally came to the point where he could no longer serve because he was struggling so. People need to understand that this is a medical condition, an illness that needs to be helped. The VA needs to step in and serve the people who have served the country in a much more efficient and timely manner, and with compassion. He did not have that help, and it wasn't because the VA didn't want to, but because they didn't have the resources to do it.
Jackie Maffucci, Paul Rykoff, head of the IAVA, jumped on me in this situation and said, do not miss this opportunity. Do not make it just about the politics, but if you're going to be commander-in-chief, if you're going to be president, you have to speak with knowledge and sensitivity on this issue. Why is it so important to you?
This is so important for us. So I'm the research director for IAVA. One of my roles is to hear from our members every year in our member survey. And this year in our latest member survey, 20% of those who said that they were with a mental health injury, they were not seeking help, and stigma is a big part of this. The message we really need to send is those who are struggling with mental health, PTSD and others, we need to make sure that they know that we're supporting them, we're here for them, and there are resources out there to get them the help they need.
One of the things that came in response to this, because it was put in a political context, you're going to have people who are going to defend Trump, you know, who support him. It doesn't matter what the situation is, even this one, because it's political now. And people have come, this is just PC. You know, saying strong, not strong, you know, you're making too much of it. What's your response?
I lived with a child who had PTSD. This child could not go out of his house during the daylight hours because he didn't want to be seen. This is not political correctness. This is concern and respect and understanding. And if you aren't educated in the topic, you should leave that conversation up to the people who are educated in the topic. Fight for the veterans, fight for the VA to serve better, but don't speak on things you don't know about. This is not an issue of political correctness. This this is an issue of understanding and compassion, and there was no understanding or compassion in what he said. I'm not angry so much at Donald Trump for trying to help the VA as I am frustrated with the fact that he showed that he didn't understand what he was talking about.
Is there any silver lining in this, Jackie Maffucci, in terms of people coming forward in the wake of the bravery of Mrs. Keegan to come forward and talk about this and her family's loss, you know, giving it some acknowledgement? Are you getting any kind of people asking for information about knowing more or getting help?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to continue this conversation, and whenever we have the opportunity to really bring this to light, this has to be in the light all of the time. There are veterans, service families, and others. This is not just a veteran issue. There are others who are also struggling with PTSD. So to be able to have a real conversation about what PTSD is, about the resources that are out there, and to ensure that everybody out there knows that there is help available, and we're going to help them get there. So one thing I would like to just shout out to the National Center for PTSD. If you are someone who wants to learn more about PTSD, the National Center is a fantastic resource. And also, of course, IAVA.org, we can help you to find the resources you need to learn more and understand how to talk about this, because talking about it is the first step to really crushing the stigma and allowing individuals to feel comfortable coming out and getting the help that they need.
Let's end this segment by showing your son in uniform. Very often, you know, you don't want these fighting men and women to be only remembered for what took them, but how they were when they were at their best. And there he is, with a big smile on his face, serving his country.
Yep, my son, beautiful boy, inside and out.
And thank you for representing him so well.
Thank you.
And taking this on. I know that you don't want to be involved in this kind of public debate, but it mattered to you, and you did it for the right reasons. Thank you for doing it on New Day.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.